Well, going back a week ago, asking about that, again, we needed to make the Louisiana game an anomaly in terms of our turnover takeaways. We did not win that this week, but they took it away from us once, and then we took it away from them. So we tied, and we improved in that. Still, we did not win that turnover ratio. So we cleaned up some areas of our play, obviously, and I think it showed that our guys believed, and we're going to play really hard again, and it ended up going our way.
Coach, going off of that, do you feel this team is better ready to handle success if you go back to your last Power 5 wins after Rutgers? You guys lost 6 straight by a combined 23 points. After the win over Purdue, lost 4, 2 of those games in overtime, and then Illinois lost 4 of 6. Do you feel this team is better wired to handle this success and move forward against Buffalo?
I can't answer that. We've talked about it. We've been talking about it since January, and here it is. So, nothing I say right now in terms of a prediction is really going to be relevant. We've got to take today. We're going to meet together as a team and move on and try to play great football and stack them. That's our theme, which obviously we've not been able to do.
Samson Evans, 258 yards, player of the week in the MAC. But could you talk about the offensive line and the group you got there and the job they did against Arizona State?
I thought they did a fantastic job. Played really hard, played sound, not perfect, but Arizona State's front, is really good, and we got significant movement. Got up to their linebackers. Samson read it really well, but yeah, we just did. We got push on the interior, and we've all along have known that our guys are capable of that, and they really put it together.
Could you give us an update on quarterback Taylor Powell and also talk about Austin Smith and his ability to come in and fill the role that he did?
Yeah, Taylor's initial assessment from the medical staff is that he's going to be just fine, so that's really good. They'll follow up again today. And then was really proud of Austin. First it goes back to the last couple of years. We've had a couple transfers come in. We recruited him as a freshman, got here early, have always continue to be really excited about him. Starts with his character and who he is as a young man, and then we just think he's uber talented. His attitude, his effort, his belief in himself has never wavered. We got him in on the 3rd and 2 before Taylor got hurt, and had a really nice gain there. And when we called his number, there was like a glisten in his eye and a pop in his step. It wasn't like, oh wow, like I wasn't ready for this, or wide-eyed or anything like that. He was he was halfway out there, while I was still talking to him, like ready to go. And then he did a really nice job. Obviously he brings an element in the run game, that Taylor, Taylor can keep you honest and whatnot, but he's not a 4.5, speed guy. So really, really pleased. First with, again, just his demeanor and his confidence and his composure, but then he executed really well.
Your defense now, 3 straight games without allowing a point in the first quarter. You're one of only 18 defenses in FBS that has that kind of streak going. Are they aware of that streak? And could you also talk to as it relates to Kempton Shine and him being player of the week defensively?
Gotten off to good starts for sure defensively. Again, I go back to the Eastern Kentucky game. They're the ones that kept us in it. We were awful offensively in that first quarter. Only had 6 plays. Played really well versus Louisiana. And then I think, too, we've had some pretty long opening drives. in the first quarter, last week and this week, I think, which helps that. I think our first kickoff, the special teams, it's complementary football is what we've been playing when we've been playing well. When EJ got down there, a really big hit on that opening kickoff, our first kickoff, I should say, versus Louisiana. But yeah, our defense has been prepared, and I think they're really hungry to prove that they can be a really good defense, and they're starting to show it.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, last week you guys had to move some things around after a late flight back from Louisiana, dealing with the heat and all that stuff, and the sleepless night, like you said. You had to change up some things to get ready for Arizona State. How did you guys, change things up to prepare and get yourself ready for another long trip to a very hot state like Arizona?
It was less of changing things up. We had a plan for these 2 weeks, and we're really, just trying to work the plan. We got in later than we had expected after Louisiana. We got back here to the building at 5:30 in the morning, and then met quickly with them later that afternoon. It just, so I guess the part that we did manipulate a little bit was just the length of practice, on Tuesday and Wednesday to try to keep people fresh. We ended up staying the night on Saturday night after this game. I mean, again, kickoff was at 11:10 Eastern, and so it wasted much of the day yesterday. However, we did get, I think most people got a decent night's sleep. So even though the day was wasted in terms of sleep and being fresh, we just thought that the combination of those 2 weeks, that it was going to be important for us going into MAC play to be as rested as possible.
Not only was there the quarterback change, but once Austin Smith came in, your offense ran more of, the read option style. How can you talk about not just him and not just the O-line, but the whole offense just kind of changing the script from what you were probably expecting to run with Powell to now with 19 back there for second Sunday night?
Yeah, he just, again, allows for us to use that more of a weapon, more than just keeping people honest. So there was a couple different wrinkles that we were able to go to, but it wasn't any kind of wholesale, philosophical change or schematic change. There's some wrinkles that went with it. So our guys, adapted really well, but it wasn't something that was, far-fetched for them that we're trying to scratch out on whiteboards on the sideline. Yeah, it went well.
I also heard that Drummond didn't make the trip to Arizona State. This week he's opened as the number 3 receiver at his spot. What's the status with him?
I'll find out more today, but he was back with us here on campus towards the middle of the week. But he had a significant injury on that hit over the middle, and he's going to be okay. But he's still recouping from that.
Defensively, you guys have been trying to get more pressure on the quarterback and the backfield the last couple of weeks. Last week, only 1 tackle for loss. Probably not exactly what you wanted to see. Could you expand on what you guys saw on your defense?
Yeah, so their quarterback was really, really dangerous, with the ball in his hand. We thought if we could move him off his spot that he'd be less accurate. It was a really good offensive line, and we had to defend both the run, the pass, and then a quarterback. So you've got to be really calculated with risks that you're taking, and all they have guys that can run and beat you down the field. And so I think our defense mixed things up well. Always want more pressure and negative plays, but our defense came up big. When I say that we didn't win the turnover ratio, that 4th down stop was mammoth and served as a takeaway. And then it reminds me, you asked me about Kempton earlier, that takeaway at the end of the game was obviously critical, and Kempton, I think, forced that and recovered it, which is obviously a huge play by him. So you're holding Arizona State to really 14 points other than the sudden change. We threw the interception. They had the ball, deep in our territory. It's a pretty good job.
And of course, anybody that wanted to stay up until 2 a.m. to watch a heck of a game and a great finish. again, congrats to you and your team for doing that. This program as a whole was, and this is via the Athletic, 0-58 against P5 teams dating up until 2016. And since then, since 2017, you guys are 4-4 against P5 schools. And even since 2017, the MAC has only had 8 P5 upsets, and you guys own half of them. What does knowing all that mean for this program now and moving forward, especially since the last one wasn't like the last 3 where you won by 3 over Rutgers, over Purdue, and Illinois? This is very convincing.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about all of that in the totality, but there's positive and negative. I mean, that, you know, we're capable of playing really good football, but I would also say that it's also, you know, exposed our lack of maturation as a program, and that we've not been able to handle, you know, some success consistently after some of those monumental wins, which was very eloquently and accurately pointed out by Tom. So still stings hearing, you know, those stats. But so, you know, that is that's where we're at as a program, or that's where we've been, and you know, that's the challenge that we find ourselves in here right now. I can tell you this, that it was a really fun locker room and all of those things. One of the things that we had talked about was just not completely letting ourselves go after a great win, a comeback victory, or, you know, being the underdogs, whatever it is. And like, you can't fake that either way. But I think that I know that our guys understand that this is not what this whole season, you know, was about. And so, as good as it was and as fun as it was, they knew and know now that that was 1 week, and it was a big week and historic in a lot of ways. But you can't fully celebrate until the season's over. It just doesn't work that way. You know, it's too hard to bring it back if you let yourself go. You know, so again, whether we actually were able to do that or to hold back and temper it, you know, remains to be seen. But, you know, my thought in the locker room was that it was exactly how it should be. Just great shout outs, singing the school fight song, you know, just joy on faces, happiness, but not 1980 USA hockey team. You know, it wasn't that. So we didn't burn any buildings down.
Is that a different reaction than maybe you saw over some of the previous ones?
Yeah, I do. I do. But again, you know, these are words on, you know, Monday morning. So none of what I say is really relevant in terms of trying to predict how our guys are going to respond and play this week and onward. I've said this before and it was absolutely, there's no disrespect meant to the teams that we'd beaten in those big moments, but and I meant what I said, and I stand behind it. When we beat Purdue, you know, I said this is going to be a tougher win, you know, going to Buffalo, you know, than Purdue. And Buffalo is going to be ready. You're going to be hungry. It's a conference game. I mean, you know, all of those things. And that was was it 218? So, you know, again, like, I promise you, Buffalo is not like looking at us going, man, these guys are, you know, really good. Buffalo is like, thank God we've gotten a conference play, and, you know, let's go, you know. So, and I think we're going to be in a really good and healthy mindset, but, you know, we better be.
I mean, you've had so many watershed moments in this program since you've been here, but the league, winning the league, as alluded to, and you mentioned it. I mean, is that kind of the moment this program needs, is to kind of show up in conference play?
I do, yeah. I absolutely think that. and we kind of talk about it in terms of just sustained success, because really every season we've shown that we can really play with anybody in our league, and we've also shown that we can lose to anybody in our league, and so therefore you get to average or mediocre, and it's been a long, hard, difficult, climb to get to that. So there is some things to be proud of some of the progress that we've made, but what we have not done is had continued sustained success, and so that is our next step. And it's really hard to do because I know there's 11 other programs that are trying to do the same thing, and but yeah, that's what we're going after, 1 week at a time.
And you've been in this business a long time. You know how delicate your job is. It could be here one day and gone the next. Obviously, your colleague at Arizona State lost his job. I'm sure you feel for him, but the question I have is, the headlines were all Arizona State coach loses job after a loss to Eastern Michigan or a MAC opponent or a big underdog. Do you find that a little insulting?
The plane landed, and so everybody's phone turns back on, and that's when we learned of it. And so, I met him for the first time on this trip, but he was first class. Really enjoyed the conversation before and after the game. And so I am sorry that that's happened. And then, it does steal some of the joy, to be honest with you. Is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, because the insinuation is he loses the job because he loses to a program he shouldn't have lost to. You guys have had these wins now. That's why I was wondering if maybe it's kind of stings like, hey, we're Division I too.
Yeah, it steals some of the joy.
Buffalo coming up, what do you know about them? Obviously, one piece, Keon Williams. Kind of two-pronged. What are you expecting out of Buffalo, and what are you expecting to see out of Keon when he comes back to his landing?
We'll get his absolute best, and his best is really, really good. He's a great guy, and we miss him. So, Buffalo. Just starting with it offensively, just going through all that this morning, and some on the plane and all that. They've got another quarterback that can throw it and hurt you with his feet, and it's significant. You just saw a little bit of that with Austin. There's just a whole added dimension with that. So, got to defend the whole field. They've got, not only do they have Q, but they've got a transfer, longer wide receiver from Louisville, and then a lot of speed in the slot. Running backs that are talented and run really hard, and they're big up front. So it's again another game where they're not going to be one-dimensional, and the trigger man can be a part of that game, both in the run and the pass. And then defensively, we've watched the whole games, and then we've watched cut-ups, and we're in the middle of all of that right now. But there are lots of different movements and coverages, pressure, twitchy, run really hard, play. They're physical, not physical in terms of like big, not movable kind of thing, but like when they're bringing it, they're bringing it. They're explosive, is what I would say. Getting in and out of man and zone, and play both even and odd front. So again, it's just another, big puzzle that we're going to have to figure out here pretty soon, how we want to attack them.
And my last question, kind of going off that too, how do you even evaluate Buffalo, considering Bo Lindquist was hired very early in May last year, very regular time for a coaching change to happen, and then even this year, going into this year, they went very hard in the transfer portal and changed a lot of faces starting for them. How do you figure out that puzzle?
Well, we've got 3 games now, so we really don't spend much time at all anymore on the previous year once you get to 3 games. And so three games gives you a sample. And those, they're 3 games. Coastal Carolina is a little bit of its own animal, especially when you talk about their offense. Then they had Holy Cross and Maryland. So, yeah, it's not watching 6 games in the middle of the season or anything like that. But there's enough for us to, get a beat on their personnel and what they like to do offensively and defensively from 3 games.
Awesome, thank you.
Coach, last question for me. Gomez, another player of the week. Not that you needed a confidence boost in your kicker, but does it feel good now that he's actually gone out in game play, converted all 3 of his field goal attempts, and continues to be perfect in PATs?
Yeah, it's not surprising to us at all. Again, going back to last winter, just really, really felt good about him as our kicker, and didn't have any field goal attempts in week 1 or week 2,
Right.
but called on him 3 times for field goals, and it was a pretty clean operation. So yeah, excited for him, but not surprised.
Tony, anything else?
No, I just wanted to ask something quick.
Sure,
Just off
yeah, of
camera.
course.
Well, just off
Yeah,
camera.
off to the side.
Yeah.
My last comment before I let you go, opportunity to come back to campus this week. It's family weekend, but also of something that's very important to you, the car show this weekend. How excited are you to have, one, that opportunity to have people back excited, but also a unique twist on our game this weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be great to be back home. Being 2 long road trips, playing Saturday night, all of that, back to back. It's going to feel really good to be at home and be, under that operation and the schedule, and then to have our family and fans here. It really will feel good. And then, the car show was, I thought, a genius idea by our tight ends coach. One of our recruiting events, we had a couple muscle cars here, green and white. It was just so much fun, and we're in Southeast Michigan. The car shows are not something that only happen at rare occasions. A lot of people love cars around here, and there's some unbelievable cars, and so we are having a car show at the factory before and during our game. And so someone called it a car game and a football show or something like that. But I think it'll be awesome just to have folks that care about that come out and be on national television. And so it's going to be a neat environment in the factory.
Awesome. What was your first car?
My first car was a Honda Civic I got after I graduated from college. Served me well.
Thanks, Coach. We have
Doesn't score points here, but that's the truth.
You're supposed to say muscle car.
Yeah, it was to me.
Yeah.
Kempton, what's harder, playing in front of 43,000 fans or public speaking?
I say the stands. The stands, the fans.
Could you talk about that, the takeaway against Arizona State? That was a big takeaway. Could you kind of walk us through that play from your perspective and how you got the ball away?
I say the first time I actually had my hands on the ball was the strip fumble. I mean, it was the strip, but I really didn't strip the first one. I kind of twisted my ankle, and I got back up, but I almost had the ball like against number 10 the first time, and then it was like fourth quarter, and I really pretty much, like, you want to see it off the field, take away the game, because, like, if we had one takeaway, it'd seal the game. And it was kind of important that it was a team effort with that tackle. And TJ and Dave and Chase, like, they helped me out big time, stood them up, and, like, I just stripped the ball, just tried to go for the kill, and I didn't even know the ball came up, and I just seen it in my lap, and then I seen the game was over after that.
Can you guys talk about how dominant you guys have been in the first quarter through the first 3 games of the season? You guys haven't allowed a single point. Is that a point of emphasis for you guys? Is that a goal you guys have? And you guys talk about this streak you got going of not allowing points in the first quarter?
Pretty much. I wouldn't say. It's just really effort. The guys that we all have together on the team, we just really want to play hard, like every down, and just be physical. And like that translates to the first quarter and second quarter, and really much stack them like every quarter and really doing it continuously. And it's just a group of guys like we full of talent and like everybody in each position, like we got room for like the growth, and like we can see the growth of the chemistry, and it's just really just effort. That's really much we preach effort.
Kempton, you mentioned stack 'em, and we talked with Coach earlier, the wins over Purdue, Rutgers, and Illinois. The team struggled after those games.
Yeah.
What do you think is different about this team? Can you guys carry on the success you just had from this past weekend?
I say yes, for sure. I mean, it's just like I see something in the team, something nobody else does. I think like it's just everybody buying in with the program, and like even you seen Austin, like Austin stepped up, like and every down, like every play. And every down, like somebody else is about to step up each down, like we can count on each other to do the right thing. And I think about to make dreams come true, and like Eastern Michigan wishes come true.
Last question for me. Talk about the Buffalo receivers, especially Keon. You know him, and you know he wants to have a big game against you guys. How tough a task is it going to be to hold Buffalo in check offensively?
I think it's going to be important, and really to show like our secondary, like what's the standard and like what we're willing to do, like course the season, like the back end, going in, like we are proving, you know what I'm saying, like even stop downs, just even takeaways, that's going to like help us big time. And like the Buffalo receivers, they got a good receiving core, Keon, Marshall, and like we familiar with Keon a little bit, but I mean we ready just to stack them again. That's really it.
No matter where you guys play out of conference, going on the road, you expect to see fans in the stands. In Arizona, that's very, very far away. To see the support that you guys got in the stands once you got there, and then cheering with them at the end, were you kind of surprised at how many people were there that went out for you guys that night and celebrated with you guys at the end?
Yeah, man, them the true Eagles. That's all I can say. Them the true Eagles. There's times we ain't had no fans. It's just we just all just buy in the program. Like I remember 2020 we had no fans. Just since the COVID, but it's just the love and the brotherhood that we all got for each other, and we continue to have no matter who out there or not. But then when we see the fans against the big teams, that give us the more energy, like the momentum to our side every time, and that's how we come out with the W every time.
You're chanting the fight song at the end. You guys are celebrating. You guys break out the Jolly Roger flag that Matt has for you guys. How are you guys what's going through your head when you're celebrating? Holy crap, we just beat a P5 opponent like this. How are you guys celebrating, and what's going through your head?
I'm like, we just beat them. That's all I had to say. But it's just a joy and excitement, because that's the first Pac-12 win that we have. The Big Ten, we usually beat them, but it's just celebrating with the guys that you just did it with. It's like a feeling. It's like a good moment, one of the greatest moments. To win that, even though the odds even stacked against you.
And my last question, you've already spent some time in this program. Like you said, you've been here since before COVID, actually, I think.
Yeah.
And now you're a leader on this team. When people flip on the TV and they finally try Eastern for the first time and they look at 29 and see him on the field, what do you want people to see, and what do you want people to know you as?
Name Simba. That's the name everybody call me. But I mean pretty much that's a good question. Really, I say I just give a lot of effort. and like just to don't give up no matter what, and just fierceness and feistiness. That's really it, and just really ready to compete, just at any down, you know.
All right, appreciate you, man.